going on, guys? Duelum here, back here with another video, and today we've got Counter Everything Plus for Season 6. So we're going to be adding a little bit more counters to some new defenses that we're seeing, one or two more counters to some defenses that we already know counters to, but just giving you guys more options. And then we're also, the meat and the potatoes of this video is going to be countering Black Knight, what to do when you see him in a bunch of different places, and just the general rule of thumb when you see him, if you see him somewhere new that this video doesn't counter. So if you're ready, let's get into it. Off room number 1, we've got X-treme+Rogue, and we have counters to this already when it comes to Super Scroll with Hive Mind, and then also other Super Scroll variants, and then Superior 6. But another counter you can use here is Masters of Evil with Dormammu, using Dormammu over Ultron. So what's going to happen here is the health triggers can be kind of an issue here if you push Gambit too far and he goes under stealth, and then you can't use the trauma stun from Dormammu. So it's a little bit interesting. You should definitely watch the video on the spreadsheet on this one to see if your team is too big to pull this off or their Gambit is too small. But it's another option for you guys if you're running low on teams. So I wanted to make sure I pointed it out. Another defense I'm seeing in room 1 is going to be Secret Defenders with Super Scroll. And the way to take this out pretty efficiently is going to be MOE Doom. Obviously, you could use your own Super Scroll here, but I'm trying to give you a little bit more budget options as well. So you're going to use Doom over Ultron, obviously. Put Doom behind Absorbing Man, and then make sure Doom is a skirmisher to get a bunch of vulnerables on Super Scroll when he takes the ride. And then Kang as a striker, so he can benefit from all of those vulnerables on Scroll and take him out pretty easily. It's not too hard of a fight, but I would definitely look at the spreadsheet to see the turn order to make sure you're doing it correctly. But that's going to be it for Super Scroll with Secret Defenders in room 1. Another defense we've been seeing pretty often now is Unlimited with Quicksilver in room 1, and it's actually what I've been running. So the trap here would be don't use New Warriors here. What you're actually going to want to use is Masters of Evil. Masters of Evil still does really well against this room, even with the Quicksilver in there. I do have Dazzler or Quicksilver next to Dazzler because most people are going to try to delete Dazzler off rip, so it gives Quicksilver a slow from the Kang special. So it can create some problems, but MOE here is pretty safe. If it's a really big punch-up, you could use MOE with APOC, but honestly, I don't think you're going to need it. Straight MOE does well here. Kicking off room number 2, I see that SD Quicksilver has been a thing that people have been putting in there. This is just going to be New Warriors 5-piece. It's pretty straightforward, pretty easy, honestly. I know Quicksilver can't be rewound, but the thing is, depending on placement, you always want to kind of focus the Robbie, unless the Robbie is on an island in the corner where Black Cat's over here. Then you could just focus this group here, and then Quicksilver's probably going to die to the bleeds and the trauma, and then you just deal with this clump over here. It's not really a big deal, honestly. It's a super straightforward fight. It's just New Warriors 5-piece. The other Secret Defenders variant I'm finding pretty often here is going to be SD with Noir. And this is going to be interesting because a lot of people have the issue with RNG of using New Warriors here. So what you're going to do is use New Warriors, but you're going to actually drop Dagger, and you're going to use a Pre-Taunt on the opposite side of Gwenpool to make sure that the ult from Noir and the ult from Ms. Marvel Hardlight can't hit Gwenpool. That's going to be the biggest thing, and then you play it normally. The issue is the punch-up potential on this is going to be a little rough because you're going to be down a whole character's worth of damage. So make sure you're not punching up too high, but it still does well, honestly, and that's going to be probably your best option without using Super Scroll or Apocalypse or any other big plug-and-play characters here. Another defense we've been seeing in room number 2 is going to be Darkhold with Black Knight. Now, this changes depending on the size of the Black Knight. So if Black Knight is on the smaller side, you could use New Warriors with APOC into this. If Black Knight's a lot bigger, to be safer, you can use Tangled Web with APOC, and then Eternals as well. Absolutely wipes the floor with this. It just depends on how big the Black Knight is. If you are lucky enough to be able to use Superior 6 here, Superior 6 also absolutely destroys this. But most people aren't going to have that luxury, so I wanted to give you guys some other options to beat this. Another budget option for this is going to be the same thing we've been using for Darkhold. It's going to be Tangle Web, Kestrel, Nova, and Iron Man Infinity War. Everything gets stripped off of BK pretty quickly from the 2099, and then you get the the charges up from Weaver, and you'll actually trauma stun the Black Knight. I would recommend making 2099 a skirmisher here to make sure he could pull off everything from Black Knight, especially the immunity. That's going to be the biggest thing, so you can actually get that trauma stun on him, so his passive isn't proccing. And then it's just pew, pew, pew from there, and it's pretty straightforward. The new hotness in room number 2, you'll also see this in room 6, but I'm not going to cover it again because it's the exact same counters, has been Hero Asgardian with Dorm and then Valkyrie. So what's been happening here is people have been running just a super small Valkyrie, so the passive potentially procs is only a 50% chance outside of war defense, and then other people around, and then it's essentially just a big Vol and a Dormammu to add revives here. This team just gets absolutely wiped by Superior 6, obviously. MOE does really well, and then even New Warriors as a more budget option does really well here too. If you're going to use MOE, make sure you use the Titania ult on Beta Ray Bill to get the Disrupt on him so he doesn't get the Reflexive Taunt when you start focusing any of the other Hero Asgardians. This room is okay, I guess, if people don't play it correctly, but it's not that great, honestly, and it's not worth using a Dormammu on defense for. But you know how to counter it. It's New Warriors, MOE, Superior 6. All those good things can absolutely wipe this. Kicking off room number 3, I've been seeing people put SD, SuS, and Thanos here, which is pretty interesting. It's something that I haven't really seen that much, but it was on the spreadsheet, so I thought I'd cover it. This is going to be Superior 6 with APOC, and you drop Spider Slayer here. Superior 6 absolutely wipes the floor with this room because of all the buffs that they get to spread, keep, prolong, all that good stuff. And even with a Super Scroll here, you're going to survive the Super Scroll ult and all the bad stuff that's going to come from him. And then you end up just wiping the floor with this team. So it's going to be Superior 6 with APOC over Spider Slayer for this counter. Other defense I saw in room 3, and I actually went against this since it's the only place I've seen it, but I thought it was interesting and I wanted to point it out, is going to be Darkhold Quicksilver with a SuS in room 3. So what I used to counter this was just Weaver, Emma, Iron Man Infinity War, Kestrel, and Nova. So what's going to happen here is your Weaver is going to go first before anybody, and you're going to want Weaver as a skirmisher so you can trauma stun that Super Scroll. And what happens in this room, actually, if the trauma and the stun land, they're going to extend each other, so he's actually going to be trauma stunned for 2 turns. Then you'll see the way I played it. I actually misplayed it. I decided to stun Wong instead of Quicksilver. What you should do is stun Quicksilver with Nova here because the stun will last way longer because it's going to get other buffs are going to extend it on Quicksilver. And then since Super Scroll was adjacent, it's going to put more debuffs on him and extend the stun even longer. And then Super Scroll's never going to take a turn. He's going to be trauma stunned for 3 turns. Then from there, it's just an easy play from there. Wong taunts, but then you just go from there. Morgan's going to miss her ult, and then you want to get over to her as quickly as possible so she doesn't special. But honestly, this room is an absolute joke to beat. You just need to know what to bring into it, and it's super easy. Kicking off room number 4, we've got more Black Knight, more out of time stuff. The 2 variants I saw here was going to be Doom and Red Hulk, which is pretty interesting. There's a super expensive counter on the counter sheet that I'm not the biggest fan of, honestly, because a lot of people aren't going to have SD on offense. So what I would recommend to this is going to be Superior 6. And if it's a bigger punch-up, I would say Superior 6, dropping Spider Slayer and then using APOC over Spider Slayer just to be on the safe side. But if it's not that big of a punch-up, I'd say maybe like 250, 300k would be about the limit that Superior 6 could punch up on this. Then you should be good. Just play it normal, and Superior 6 just rolls this, honestly. Coming into room number 4, I saw an SD, a full SD on defense. And obviously in any other room, this is just New Warriors food. But in room 4, New Warriors does not have their ultimate, so it makes this room a little bit harder. Honestly, if you have a good built Hive Mind can do really well here. Red Goblin makes this even easier because it gives them 60% extra damage. So you're pretty much guaranteed to get a some turn meter push. Especially on a Doctor Strange, since a lot of people don't have him built very high. And even if they do have him built higher, he's super squishy and he's not that great. And Hive Mind gets rolling super quickly here. The only other thing you could do here is going to be Hive Mind with Super Scroll. But I know obviously not everybody has Super Scroll ready to just throw at a room that doesn't have that doesn't have, SuS or APOC in it, stuff like that. But yeah, Hive Mind works super well in here. SuS Hive Mind with Vol over Gwenum would be really good here. But yeah, this is going to be SD in room number 4. The other defense I've been seeing in room 4 is going to be the SD 3-piece SuS and Black Knight. What you're going to do here is you're going to be doing Zombie Juggernaut on the corner, and the Zombie Juggernaut can probably be 3-3, honestly. It really doesn't matter if he dies, actually. It literally doesn't matter. He's just there for the pre-taunt. Then you're going to have Vol next to Zombie Juggernaut, so when Vol gets rewound, not a big deal. Then you're going to have Void Knight in the middle, and then you're going to have Super Scroll and APOC on the other side away from the pre-taunt. So what's going to happen is here, with your Super Scroll, you want to basic into Black Knight first, and I would suggest putting him as a striker. So you can basic into Black Knight. You might flip stuff on Black Knight, but you might not. But what you want is you're going to want a Super Scroll to chain down the line, hit the Black Cat, hit the Robbie, and hit the Super Scroll. Black Cat will lose all of her death proofs because it'll flip all of them, and then she'll probably die to the bleeds with the Super Scroll being a striker. That's why I recommend it. And then their Super Scroll is going to go. He's going to rewind your Zombie Juggernaut and your Vol, but that's okay. Then you're going to use the Void Knight ult to get the taunt and all the stuff off of them and flip everything. And then from there, you're just going to use the special from Apocalypse and play it out. Honestly, I feel like this is going to go super, super well, honestly. This should work against bigger Black Knights. I have never seen this work, though, but this is my recommendation if you do see it. And if you do see it, let me know. Let me know that it worked so we can for sure put a video in the spreadsheet. Still in room 4, we've got Out of Time. We've got the Black Knight, Captain America, SD 3-piece. The way you're going to want to beat this is going to be Hive Mind with APOC, and you're going to be dropping Gwenum. Or you can use Superior 6 with APOC, which is a cleaner version and can punch up more. For the Hive Mind, I would obviously recommend dropping Gwenum because she's pretty useless. She just stands there. Red Goblin gives that 60% extra damage, but if you don't have Red Goblin, you can use Gwenum because the heroes and villains don't matter with APOC. And then APOC, Superior 6 into this, dropping Spider Slayer because he's going to be pretty useless in this room. Spider Slayer's just there for the offense up, but he's useless. But yeah, it's a pretty easy counter, honestly. Let's see what we got next. Still in room number 4, we've got Black Knight, Cap A, Mockingbird, Tigra, and Fury. I feel like this was a hot sauce for like a half a second, and nobody's going to run this anymore, but I wanted to make sure I touched upon it just in case somebody does. If they are on the smaller end when it comes to Tigra, Mockingbird, and or Fury, you could use full Hive Mind here, and you'll get a turn meter boost real quick because they're lower from the VK ult, and then a couple other people taking turns. Your other option here is going to be Hive Mind with APOC, Hive Mind with Super Scroll, or just Superior 6. This is not a great defense, honestly. I don't really feel like a lot of people are going to be using this, but I thought I'd touch upon it just in case somebody does run across it, because I did see it in round 1 of Crucible for a couple people, so just in case, wanted to cover it. Coming into room number 5, people have been saying Pegasus+Doom has been giving them trouble because their Eternals aren't big enough or their Pegasus is just massive that they're going against. So 2 options here is going to be New Warriors, and what happens is you just target Doom and all in Doom. Doom will get rewound into the Oblivion, and he will never take a turn, even if he gets pushed. Or you can use the same Eternals with OG Falcon, and what's going to happen here, instead of running Shang-Chi, you're actually going to run Vol, so you can put an ability block on Doom. So even if Doom does get pushed, Vol will have the ability block on Doom, and it won't matter. It is using a Vol here, so I would recommend using New Warriors here because it's a low-budget counter, because New Warriors are starting to fall off of favor based on what's on defense. But if you have to use the Eternals counter, again, it's Eternals with OG Falcon, Vol, and then Omega Red for more damage and a trauma ability block on his special, and you will rip through this no problems whatsoever, even if it's like a 3.2 Pegasus. It doesn't matter. Coming into room number 6, we've got Out of Time with Black Widow and Hulk. Yeah, I'm serious. This is on the spreadsheet. The way you could beat this is obviously Superior 6 rolls this. If it's a smaller Black Knight and you don't have that big of a New Warriors can also beat this as well. The bigger the Black Knight, the bigger your Gwen pool needs to be. I did run Gwenpool as a skirmisher in a fight that you'll see upcoming, and it did work against a 6/6 Black Knight. So at your discretion, but New Warriors absolutely rails this. Superior 6 rails this. Honestly, I think MOE would do fine here too, because it's just Black Knight in here and the other people, but it's not a great defense. Just use Superior 6. Just use New Warriors. You could probably use Hivebind in here too if they're big enough and can get somebody low. I don't know why people have this in here. It's a thing. It's a thing. Keep it on with room number 6. We've got Gamma with Black Knight, and I've seen people get stumped by this a lot. You can also throw a Captain America in here just for some funsies, more out of time, more taunts, whatever you want to do. It's going to be the same counters. So if you have a big New Warriors and, like I said, a smaller Black Knight that you're going against, you can use just regular New Warriors here. If you need a little bit more firepower because it's a little bit of a punch-up, it's a massive Gamma, it's a massive Black Knight, I would recommend having APOC in here as well. So you'll take out Dagger and you'll use New Warriors with APOC. Last counter is going to be something that I saw and only I saw, so I figured I'd include it just because it was pretty gnarly. It's going to be Out of Time with Rogue and Dorm in room 6. So this Black Knight in my counter was a 6/6, so he was massive. So what I did here was New Warriors with APOC. As a little word of warning, my Gwenpool is pretty massive. I have her at G18. I think she's only 95. She might be 97. You'll see here down below. I did use her as a skirmisher as well to be able to get the flip on Black Knight. And then it was pretty straightforward. Just target Black Knight with the Firestar ult. I did end up pushing the Black Knight, so then I got stuck on the cap taunt. So I just used the basic from Deathpool. Then I do have Cloak as a skirmisher to make sure he lands buffs because he's not going to do the vulnerables since he doesn't have Dagger with him because we do drop Dagger here for APOC. And then you just play it out from there and it goes well. The Rogue did end up getting her taunt out as well with her special, so it's a little iffy. I can't remember who she special, but you'll see it in the video. But it worked well. It was a really good counter to a pretty beefy defense, so I thought I'd include it just in case y'all see it. All right, guys, that's going to be it for the counter video, part 2, involving Out of Time, Black Knight, and some more counters that I have seen. I think this is going to be the last one for Season 6 because we're already 2 weeks into a 6-week season, and I don't know if anything else is going to come out that's going to really be crazy and meta-breaking and need to have a whole video about it. Unless Cosmic Ghost Rider comes out, and he's absolutely nuts, but he's towards the end of the season, so I think you're only going to see it for 1 week, so it is what it is. But I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope this found you guys well. Don't forget, our Discord with me and Juicy is going to be down below. The spreadsheet is going to be down below as well for all the counters and all the videos to this fight, and if it's a punch up or punch down. But until next time, this has been Duelim. Later, y'all.